Spent a ton of time with him over the weekend, and I already miss him. That's how much I enjoy working with him. At Move the Sticks, his great podcast with Bucky Brooks, also by the same name. Daniel Jeremiah, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. I went to take a little, let's just lay on the bed at 7, maybe take a little 20-minuter,
Yep.
And then rejoin the family. And next thing I knew, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So we got a nice little rest.
Jeez, good for you. You're all caught up. How did the Jeremiah family handle dad or their worse half in terms of your wife? That's what you are. How did they handle you getting peed on by a dog? How did that? Because I know how your television family handled it. How about your actual family, Daniel?
Well, this is the sign of the times, right? So I've got 4 kids, the youngest of which is 15, and they go up to 21. So they all loved getting on our family chat and saying that all of their individual friend chats are now buzzing and talking about me getting peed on. So it was a great sense of entertainment for like the track group chat, for the cheer group chat, for all of my college friends, my kids that are in college, all their college buddies. So it provided a tremendous amount of material for all their friends. And that's why I'm here, Rich.
Why didn't you get a new shirt, DJ? You were offered a new shirt multiple times. I heard it over, the conversation from truck to you. Why no new shirt, Daniel?
Well, Rich, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know. And you rode in the car with us on the way back afterwards.
It was pungent.
Know that the new shirt.
It was pungent.
It was strong.
It was.
It was strong. I don't know that the new shirt would have taken the smell away. And once you're dry, I mean, the damage has been done here. Let's ride this thing out.
Oh my gosh, we had a blast, man, over the weekend. Now looking back on it, you're 2 days clear of it. The headline, is there one? What's the headline from the 2023 draft, Daniel?
Well, I mean, I think we started with the quarterbacks being, the big story, and that, not only did we have, the fireworks at the top with the quarterbacks, but then you had literally every element of the quarterback drama was there. We had the guys at the top. You had one sliding. You had that next wave of quarterbacks with Hendon Hooker, going in the third, and then it was who's going to be part of that next wave, Stetson Bennett. Personally, I didn't see that one coming, that he was going to go ahead of some of those other guys. And then we ended up with something like 14 quarterbacks, a crazy number of quarterbacks getting picked. So that was that was a big one. And and when you get on the plane and you fly home, I get the research packet, right? And we are going pick to pick, and we're flying. And sometimes, it's not until you get on the plane and you realize, oh my gosh, I can see the totality of what some of these teams did. And I looked at it, I thought, you know what, golly, the Green Bay Packers, for having lost Aaron Rodgers and they are ushering in a new era, they had a heck of a draft, man. And they brought in a big class with a lot of really good players.
So the Packers have reached a certain height for you. You like them? Why?
Yeah, I just love what they did. I mean, I think when you think about a young quarterback having, 2 really good young tight ends to throw into the mix, I thought they did a great job with that. I just thought that they were able to find some value kind of all throughout the deal. And I didn't realize until we got to the end that they had so many players. Like, they had a huge number of picks. So I thought they did a really nice job.
So as we all know, we talk about fit, right? Whether the player fits. And conversely, though, the question is how does the team fit the player? That's the issue for a lot of guys who just got drafted over the weekend. Did they get drafted by the right spot? Whether it's a system or whether a coach is on a hot seat and might not want to play the rookie, and then that rookie doesn't play for a while, or they sit behind somebody. Which quarterback do you think, Daniel, landed in the perfect spot for them to succeed over the last 3 days?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be honest. I think that you go right to the very first one. And we had Frank Reich on. And Frank Reich, even just when you're talking to him in our capacity, he has such a soothing, calming effect. Like, he's just, nothing's going to really rattle him. He's not going to freak out. Like Bryce Young throws 4 interceptions in his first start. Can you think of a more calming influence than to walk back into the building and have Frank Reich just put his arm around him and say, hey, kid, I saw Jim Kelly, struggle and this, that, and the other. And just he's going to be a great mentor for him. They already have a good offensive line. I thought they did a nice job in this draft. They didn't have a lot of picks, but they did get him a little bit of help there as well. So I think that's a nice quarterback cocoon for him to go into. They got the receiver from Ole Miss, going to be a good fit for him. They got a lineman from NC State and Chandler Zavala late, who's a good player. So I just like, to me, with quarterbacks, give me a great play caller, give me some protection, and hopefully a few playmakers. And I think Carolina has a pretty good infrastructure to handle that.
So then let me just go straight to Richardson, since that was the conversation you and I had starting from the combine all the way up until we heard his name being drafted 4th overall, is he's got to go to a spot. I think you even said something along the lines that there's only 7 or 8 teams that could properly, maturize him or grow him. And get him to blossom. Are the Colts and their current situation and their offensive scheme one of those teams? Did he land in the right spot, do you think?
Yeah, I thought that was the spot you would cherry pick for him for a bunch of reasons. To me, when you look at the staff they have, they're always around Shane Steichen when he was with the Chargers. Did a great job with Herbert welcoming him into the league and getting him up and running. He's been around a bunch of different systems. He's seen it work with different style of guys. Everybody's going to point back to his time with Jalen Hurts. But it's not only having him there. To me, the offensive line's got to play better, first of all. They did not play well last year. They're going to have to rebound and play better. We'll see. I think they've even announced, they already talked about, hey, we'll let his play dictate the timeline here. We're not going to say what the plan is yet. We're going to let that kind of be determined. He's not going to be rushed right away. But once he gets out there, Rich, that is a fast track, and it's a division with a lot of fast tracks. And you've got him as a runner, which they can lean on early, and him in the backfield with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, they should – if he plays more than 12 games next year, the Indianapolis Colts will lead the league in rushing. I mean, I almost feel like that's a lock with him getting out there. And then they can slowly continue to develop him as a passer and put more on his plate there. But that's a good fit, not only for the coach you have there. To me, I think the style of play that they'll incorporate, and even down to the division and the surface on which they play.
And then what do you make of Will Levis's journey from Thursday to Friday night? Why did he drop out of the first round, and do the Titans have the proper setup for him to succeed, do you think, Daniel?
That one, in terms of the setup, we'll see. I mean, I think that one's to be determined with how that's going to work out with him there. But I know Ran Carthon. I think he's a sharp guy. I think he'll continue to build out this roster. But for a team that's had a lot of postseason success, the roster's not in great shape right now. So there's still some work to be done there. But why he fell, your first question, he didn't have as many suitors. So I could find, I knew there was a lot of teams that everybody pretty universally liked Bryce Young. Then there was a good number of teams that were intrigued and really liked C.J. Stroud that would have taken him, I believe. And then after that, it was the 2 toss-ups, and it was trying to find the homes for Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. And the spots were really 2. It was 4 and 11. So either Indy or Tennessee. If you get beyond Tennessee at 11, it was like, okay, well, you're probably going to be on a little bit of a drop here. And that's what happened with Levis. But in talking to people that night, and we talked about it off the air, there was a team, it was the Tennessee Titans, that was trying to get back in and had called, multiple teams. I know for sure that they had called Kansas City. I know for sure they had called Buffalo about trying to get back up into the first round and take him. So, I still think there was, it just didn't work out for him. But the Tennessee Titans, who took him in the top of 2 with the 33rd pick, I think they would have been happy to have traded up and taken him, and that would have made him a first-round pick.
And then the last quarterback question, DJ, is we saw a record number drafted. We saw a record number drafted in the top 150, 200, and then the whole shooting match. And I think it's a Brock Purdy effect. The question I have for you is the Brock Purdy effect, why? The fact that somebody's drafted so late can be so good in such crucial high-leverage situations as Purdy was for the 49ers, or that Purdy got hurt in such a crucial game and that you need more, or the fact that he was able to get into a game and perform so well. You're looking for that because of the attrition at the position. Why do you think we saw so many taken?
Well, there's a lot. It's not just one reason. I would add to that. I thought the strength of this draft was day two. I thought there were probably day two guys that went in round one this year because we didn't have that full complement of guys. And then I thought the draft really fell off once you get into, fourth, fifth round. I thought, okay, a lot of these guys who were picked beyond that point in the draft were probably free agents in a really good draft. So teams are sitting there saying, well, wait a second. I mean, if we hit on this guy we're going to take in the fifth round in this draft, we hit on him. He's on our practice squad. Maybe he's covering some kicks for us. Versus we take a flyer on a quarterback, and not even saying that the perfect world he'd be Brock Purdy, but just saying in the world that he's in our system, he's on our practice squad, or he's our second or third quarterback, and we play 17 games. The value of that player being in our program versus somebody else whose ultimate upside is to cover kicks for us. Let's just take a flyer on some of these quarterbacks, and that's why. What do we have? We have like 4 or 5 of these guys go in the fifth round.
Yeah.
Might as well just take your shot. It's just like a lottery ticket. Just go ahead and get yourself a lottery ticket. See what happens.
Daniel Jeremiah, a few more minutes left with my compadre from the NFL draft, Move the Sticks. He and Bucky Brooks' podcast is must listen to here on the Rich Eisen Show. It's amazing how going in, we're like, where's Bijan going to get drafted? And what does that mean for the running back position? And he goes to the Falcons at 8. But the one that really resonates with me is Jahmyr Gibbs getting picked 12th overall by the Lions. And then the conversations that we were hearing is how many teams were interested in him that high, and how many punches the Lions beat to get him where they got him. What gives with that one, Daniel?
Well, I think it's a result of the receiver group not being what we've seen in years past.
Okay.
So if you look at the way offense has exploded in this league and all the great young quarterbacks that we have, everybody's chasing points right now, and it's become harder and harder to stop people. It's like, okay, we need playmakers. And so you start having a meeting, and instead of having a running back meeting individually, a tight end meeting, or receiver meeting, you say like, hey, who are the mismatched players in this? Who's going to help us get, first downs and touchdowns and help us, get some juice on our offense? And I think the receiver group, they didn't fall in love with that receiver group. That's why that run didn't start till the 20s. And when they mix all these things in together, and they're like, you know what, one of the best matchups in this draft is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs against the linebacker. That's a mismatched player. And we talked about it. I mean, there were teams saying, okay, we think he's going to actually spend more time in the slot for us than he even will in the backfield. But that's why they looked at it. It's just, and it's kind of like this. We've been talking about rebranding the running back position, not for everybody, but for the guys like Bijan and guys like Gibbs. Like, hey, ditch the name running back. Just go with offensive weapon or something else, any other creative term you want to use. But that let teams know that you're not going to put me in the backfield, 100% of the time, because those guys, we've seen where that value has gone.
So then which receiver do you think can have a breakout season? Give me one based on where they got drafted, first, second, even third round. What do you got for me on that front, DJ?
Well, I mean, it would be like we spent time together at the at the draft, and we're walking around. I mean, one of the best places to be is with Rich Eisen at an NFL event. So if I'm Jordan Addison and I get to be on the opposite side of the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, I'm gonna feel pretty good about all the attention going that way, and I'm gonna get to have a great time. It's like me. I mean, Brockman can appreciate this. I'm sure he's been there. I mean, Rich can't walk 10 feet without some picture, autograph. He's very sweet to everybody. He's very nice to everybody. But it sure makes life just easy on the rest of us. We can just skate right by, and that's what happens when you play opposite of Justin Jefferson.
So I'm the Justin Jefferson of your world, is what you're saying at an NFL draft? Is that what you're saying, or the combine? It's not just because you got a free lunch. You got a free lunch out of Stone Street. Yeah. That can't be that too.
I did. I got a free lunch. Well, I'll tell you what. Jordan Addison weighs 173 pounds. We let him hang out with Stone Street a little bit longer. That's not going to stay the same.
Slaps barbecue is no joke, brother. That is.
Oh, it's no joke. That's the best. It's literally the best meal that I've ever had. That's not hyperbole. It's absolute fact.
Yeah, but
I just wish I could have done it after the draft, so I could have really jumped in.
You stopped eating. The rest of us gorged on that Friday lunch, and you stopped because you had a broadcast later that night. Come on, Daniel. That's a red flag for me.
Look,
that was a red flag.
Every player in person has strengths and weaknesses. Unfortunately, my stomach is not one of my strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to put it in a position to be successful.
Okay.
That's just where I was.
All right. Last one for you, Daniel Jeremiah. The head scratcher. Which one is the one that you're like, really? And again, that's not our DNA on NFL Network, is we evaluate the pick, what the kid can do, and we're like, hey, this is going to take years to evaluate. You never know. That said, which one was like, really? That pick at that point? You got one for me on that, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was almost who didn't go versus who did go.
Okay.
So I just thought going through the process that Nolan Smith was such a freak show athlete and had been hurt, so that's one of the reasons why the numbers weren't great. But he jumps off the screen when you watch him there at Georgia. So the fact that he was down there at 30 where the Eagles got him, to me, that was probably my biggest head scratcher of the first round.
And I've got Brandon Beane coming up. You were saying as the Bills hopped up in front of the Cowboys, who we knew were tight end interested in the draft, you're like, you warned the league, don't let the Bills draft Dalton Kincaid, and that happened. You literally said that, and then the pick got read. Why would you say that about the tight end out of Utah that now goes to Buffalo? Why do you say that?
Yeah, I mean, if we say Bijan Robinson was kind of his own player, I thought that the best pass catcher in this entire draft was Kincaid. He was my 9th overall player. I just think everything that he does really well translates with the ability to separate. He's got unbelievable hands. He creates wins in the red zone. He creates wins on third down. And you made an astute point about, Josh having some turnovers down there in the red zone. Yeah. Well, it's going to get easier. He's going to make his life a lot easier down there because he can really uncover. So I just thought you've got a premier young quarterback and a draft that maybe lacked some of the juice with pass catchers. I thought he was the best one, and lo and behold, he's going to get to play with Josh Allen. So that's I'm curious to see what Beane says, but I don't know if he'll admit it. But I mean, 100% they knew they had to get ahead of the Cowboys, or they weren't going to see him.
Daniel, appreciate the time, sir. Greatly appreciate it. You be well. Awesome job. As always, you are the best. You make my life easier and more enjoyable because of how you go about your business when we're off camera. Also, you're the best, really.
No, I appreciate you, buddy. You're the ultimate point guard. You're a great friend. I've got to do 11 of these with you, and I hope we get to do many, 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 many more.
Hey, if I was a dog, I'd mark you up too, brother. Oh, I don't care.
By the way, good reminder. I got to expense that shirt. Thanks.
Patrick the dog doing what all of America loves to do, which is mark their spot on Daniel Jeremiah. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
You be well. That's Daniel Jeremiah right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.